the legitimized 1999 Constitution must proceed to decommissioning via transitioning. You see how organized? So please pay attention. Thank you.
We are happy to report that the Constitution of Nigeria 1999, the unitary constitution that has brought Nigeria to ruins, has been delegitimized. The strategic objective of NINAS in raising the union dispute and declaring that force majeure, offering a transitioning template to the sinking union of Nigeria. The strategic objective has been met because that constitution is now in open dispute. The government, the institutions, the people, everybody who is anybody in the public space in Nigeria, has of necessity had to take a position on that constitution. We had Ngozi Okonjo telling the lawyers in the land at their annual conference in 2024 that Nigeria is where it is economically on account of the unsettled social contract. That is the constitution right there. For those who do not understand the meaning of constitution, social contract, it is the constitution. And then we heard Kingsley Moghalu saying that the economy is in free fall because we are building that economy on an unsettled constitutional foundation, and therefore he recommends a constitutional reconstruction of Nigeria in order to begin to rebuild the economy of Nigeria. Do we need to talk about the democracy of Nigeria? Can we have a democracy in a constitution of apartheid, in a constitution of impunity? We cannot have a democracy. So from every side you look at the matter, that constitution is now known to be the source of the woes of Nigeria, the misery of Nigeria, whether it is the economic free fall that we have seen, or the security breakdown, or the meltdown of the social fabric of society, the hunger that has come, And so NINAS is delighted to report that we will now engage the next gear. That next gear being the phase of decommissioning the operation of that constitution. At every point in time, we have left the gates open for the government, those who are managing the day-to-day affairs of Nigeria, to come along in this reasoning and thinking to solve this problem together. Otherwise, those who are living in the torment are not going to continue to endure, while those who are tormenting them by clinging onto that constitution continue in their journey to nowhere, election after election, while sharing the blood of the people every month. And so the purpose of this broadcast is to inform us that we must now decide whether we want to move on in the trajectory we are currently going, that is guaranteed to end in disaster, to end in a crash, or we come to our senses to make a U-turn, go sit down and discuss the union as currently defined. We have to go to this, get the owners of the sovereignties that are confiscated by this constitution into the discussion sooner than later. We cannot afford to plunge into another round of elections mandated by that constitution. That is the principal, that is the central message from this broadcast, because NINAS will be rallying the victims of unitary Nigeria against the enforcers of unitary Nigeria, meaning that the enforcers of unitary Nigeria that are planning to go to another election that will give life to that constitution from 2027 are going to be confronted by the victims of unitary Nigeria. Who are these victims of unitary Nigeria? All of those who are now perishing in the hunger, all of those who are now being slaughtered across the places where they are being invaded, particularly in the Middle Belt. All of those young people who can no longer see their future in the Nigeria that's not working, for them, and who have had to try to trek across the desert, they die in numbers. To go across the Mediterranean, they die even the more. All of those who the medical, hands that are fleeing to places where they can find more. Even the fintech, young people who now go to look for a job, they don't have to, they don't see how Nigeria can accommodate them in their own aspirations. So they're abandoning Nigeria. For those who go to, instead of going to solve the problem, go to say, oh, you believe. I don't believe in the fraud. You are inviting everybody to come and believe in the Nigeria that will be great. What will make Nigeria great is to rework the foundation that is damaged.
Exactly.
It's crumbling. Everybody can see it. Only the people that gather to share money in Abuja every month can say it is not so. Let us take a quick look at a few indices. We don't, all these statistics that people come to cite on TV all the time for how GDP is growing and how, all kinds of, let us be practical. Let's look between the time we came out with this force majeure in 2020. Let us look at the economy. What is the report card? I mean, if I was addressing a hall of just market men and women in any random look, it could be Alaba, it could be Dugbe Market, it could be Lafenwa in Abeokuta, it could be Ochanja in Onitsha, or Sabongari Market in Kano. Imagine that you were to address an audience made up of traders in those markets, and you were to discuss with them what has been their experience concerning the economy. The little they will understand will bring them into telling you that that there's hunger now. That will be the summary of their report, that they are hungry. That's what they're going to be telling you about the economy. Exactly. They're going to be telling you that their poverty has increased exponentially beyond what it was before. They're going to be telling you that the naira that used to do a few things for them before is now, worth far less than it was, and that they're not even sure of that it will remain in the range it is now. That's what they're likely to get from them, because they're telling you what our interregnum president did say in the time Jonathan was president. He said that anyhow you are doing with the economy, if you want to measure whether it's effective or not effective, whether it's working or not working, go to the marketplace and ask the market women, how are things with you? Exactly. Since we came, that you are likely to get better answers than those people that come to cite all kinds of statistics of GDP for you. Yes. And so it is in that sense that we say the report card for economy between the 2020 and 2024 is that there is serious hunger, particularly since after the 2023 election. There's hunger in the land, there's poverty that is deepening, and there's the currency collapse, the naira is sliding. You come to security, you ask those who live in that insecurity, leave the people who are polishing for them in media houses, or the experts, the so-called experts that they invite to come to report how things are. You look at security, ask those who live in Benue, in those places where, Fulani invasion is happening every day. They will tell you that there have been more killings and more kidnappings. Ask them in the east, ask them in Ekiti or wherever. They will tell you that there have been more killings, there have been more kidnapping, and that terror has grown. And even before you go to asking them, you are likely to see in the front pages of the newspapers the story of the Lakarua, the Fulani militia that are regrouped from Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso back into Nigeria, because they have been dislodged in other places, and they've come here to try to join the ones that came while Buhari, their principal and champion, was a president here. So that's the state of security. More killings, more kidnap, more terror. We are talking to the ordinary people now across the length and breadth of Nigeria, not the ones who are paid by government to come and lie on TV. You come to the question of corruption. Is there anybody that needs to be told that corruption is growing in leaps and bounds? We used to hear about millions of naira that got stolen. Now we're hearing billions. In fact, by the time Buhari was leaving, it was a 31 trillion. They called it a fancy name, ways and means. 30 trillion that Ways and means is where the president will tell the central bank governor to please find me 5 billion there, find me 50 billion there. He doesn't need to explain to anybody at all. They just take the money. They will then explain it later. It was after Buhari left office that this same National Assembly began to approve all of those things and amortize it to say, okay, we take it as borrowing that the government did yesterday. For what purpose? What was the money used for? Other than what we have seen, the recklessness and the flamboyance of people in governance. That's what, of course, some of that money must have gone into financing the terror that Buhari was, bringing the Fulani to inflict on the other people. We knew what he was doing in Niger Republic. We knew what he was doing in Mali. We knew what he was doing in Burkina Faso, trying to entrench the Fulani, and we saw how from which budget did Buhari find the 100 billion naira he gave to Miyetti Allah? At the time, Miyetti Allah was taking responsibility for the atrocities of so-called Fulani herdsmen. So it was part of how that 30 trillion, ways and means got spent. We have seen his handmaid called Godwin Emefiele, and the kind of things being associated with him. They said they saw 700 and something the houses, in Abuja the other time. We don't know the details, but his name is what have been thrown up in that story. So corruption has grown in leaps and bounds. We saw Yahya Bello and his antics. You have been accused of 110 billion plus. That's in one tranche. Another tranche over 80, 90 billion. You have been accused, and then you came. EFCC didn't find any way to get to him until he came at his own time. He even came on one occasion and left. And then we're being told that corruption is being fought. Look at the people fighting the corruption. Just look at them. And when they say corruption perception index, what are we perceiving? What are we seeing? So corruption has grown in leaps and bounds. The governance, if there was governance before, relatively, measured against the past, you could see it's been deteriorating and it's in complete dilapidation. The cost of governance, for those who are talking about cost of governance and how to bring it down, it is not by reducing a convoy of 50 vehicles by 3 or 4, or saying that many people can only travel with a certain number of people. What are they traveling around to do? The foreign investors are going to invite. No matter how you come to do your PowerPoint presentation, they are going to be asking about the rule of law in the place.
Exactly.
They are going to be asking about the security in the place, because no matter how much profit you are going to make, if the security of those people who are going to be working for you in that place, look at the number of companies that are leaving. Just look at the companies, some of which have been here for 60 years plus, 30 years plus. Living an economy, the other day it was Netflix. There was there's a cement company, I can't remember their name now, and manufacturing companies that employ quite a large number of people. We knew when all the other ones left before. In the last few months, the ones who have joined in living, what is it that is chasing them? Your citizens are departing. The corporate entities that provide employment are departing. What are they seeing that you are not seeing? And you are rejoicing that your policies are working. Nigeria will soon become great again, and things are grinding to a halt. And so that cost of governance in which we are financing 812 governments every month, that has gone down from billion to trillion. We're now discussing trillion every month. And the government turn around to say, oh, we have surplus of 10 trillion. We have surplus of 6 trillion, in some quarter. So all those things are telling us this is just a casual overview of what has happened with the economy, the security, the corruption index, and the cost of governance. And so where does it leave us? Ninas is saying, are we not able to see now that we can continue to build on this and get somewhere? And therefore, this anniversary will be first about celebrating the legitimization of that constitution. If anything can be said about Nigeria across the last 4 years, it is that Nigerians, including the government of Nigeria, including foreigners, because we carried our campaign to the UN, to the international circuit, including the UN. You saw in 2021 when we went to tell the whole world that the Nigerian Union is now disputed. When Buhari was trying to attend the United Nations General Assembly session for 76th session. We went out there to tell the whole world that we are in some kind of house cleaning exercise. And that part of what we said in that first measure proclamation was to issue a caveat to the international investors that they're inviting to come to put their money in this disputed project. Nigeria is now a disputed project until we settle the question of the constitution by which we are unionized. It was imposed on us. It has ruined our lives. It has taken all of what should have made us better than we are now. It has set up a system that can only promote corruption, a system that is anti-development, a system that is anti-innovation, a system that is feeding on the blood of its people,
Yes.
a system that is chasing away young people from the country, that should have been their country, a system that is designed to choke the constituents to death. That's what we have now. And Ninas would then be saying, first is to rejoice. We're going to get our people to celebrate the defeat of that constitution because it is now delegitimized. If you doubt me, go down the street in your neighborhood and tell anybody, including the people who sell on the street, that constitution is not the problem. They will beat you up because they now know that is the problem. The question is, what then do we do to come out of that problem? Because if that constitution is responsible for the killings happening around us, responsible for the hunger tormenting us in our households, responsible for all the infrastructure that is missing and lacking, responsible for the corruption we read about every day, of course, you have a hard time explaining to them, telling them that they can continue to endure it while the government continue to live in its profligacy. This question of raising more taxes, for what purpose? You sell 3 million barrels of crude oil, you've not been able to add any value to the life of the citizens than causing them more torment, more pain all around. And you are squeezing them while you go buying new jets, presidential jets and yachts for yourself, convoy unlimited number of exotic vehicles that run in several hundreds of billions if you put some of the convoys together. That's the kind of thing that the government that is asking people to sacrifice and pay more tax, is doing with the money. So even the monies they borrow, I won't be surprised. This latest round of borrowing of dollar, by which they are pretending that Naira is still standing, they will share it out in this. We saw it last Christmas where they gave almost 300 million. Babio was announcing to them to please go and check their, check for their alerts for what the 300 million thereabout. We are not talking about the constituency project that they take all kinds of money. All this money is being gathered, not going towards anything that will become a production for anybody, because that constitution permits it.
So we pause a little bit. Please, thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening, because it's very important. Information is very important. I remember in those days, my father, BBC, he would listen, pay attention. We didn't even know that he was listening to, oh my goodness. Imagine our people listening to the people that are cooking up lies against them, paying so much attention, thinking like, okay, these people are speaking truth. You don't know that they're just brainwashing you with information. But on this platform, we want to give you accurate information so that when you're discussing with the people out there, because like we said, this is self-determination. That means self. You administer it to self. You're going to be part of it. But we want you to be well informed. So take notes so that when you are discussing, you're not discussing out of sentiment. Oh, lamentation. Oh, wailing. Oh my God. Hey, yeah. Can you imagine? No. You'll be talking points. And they will ask you a question, you will respond. Say, because this is this and this and this and this. This is why we want our people to be discussing, especially our youths. Because our youths are our energy, our power. But we want them to be informed youths. Not ignorant youth that because the colonial masters want our youth to be ignorant so that they will react out of sentiment, enter inside bush with stick, and be running up and down, say freedom, freedom, freedom. And they will have opportunity to wipe them off. We don't want that. We want to give our people accurate information, not propaganda, not lies. The truth that you know, the truth on the table is enough to liberate you. You don't need to add lies. You don't need to add propaganda, because truth is sacrosanct and truth will remain forever. So if you understand the truth, when you are discussing, you'll be making sense to yourself and even to your enemy. When your enemy knows that you now know what he knows, is it not game over? It's game over now.